Hold on, let me get the let me get another page up.
Where was mine? Keep
And then all
check
of the settings.
YouTube. It ain't pop up yet. All right, so just in case while we're checking these mics, everybody like, share, subscribe, comment. If you can't hear me, put a one in the chat. If you can hear me, put a 144 in the
Facebook
chat.
but YouTube ain't sent no data over yet for some weird.
I'm looking at it on Facebook.
Here we go. Go ahead.
All right, Shalom Israel. This is Precinct Officer 500 Katal. Of course, we are the ISUPK under Commander Junior Hines, started out 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. And this is your Friday night Lashawan Qadash class. So this Friday is going to be a regular class. I think next Friday, the last Friday of every month, might just be a freestyle Friday. Of course, we're going to go over the language a little bit, but we'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about as well. Getting into the culture. Before I race into the board and start our normal routine, last week we were going over the present tenses and uses in different words, nouns, pronouns, and whatnot. So on the board we have the last few that we were working on. As you see, the word Athan is you. The word shamar, which was or is to watch, is the root word that we are conjugating or translating. So if we put Athan Shah Wamar, it means y'all are watching. So FYI, there's certain rules that you have to follow whether you're conjugating or translating it into the feminine or the masculine. Most feminine has a caveat to it. So if you see the feminine for the feminine plural of they, you put a y. That's the rule. Yep, rule. Add a y in between the first and the second letter. So those are certain things that you would just have to know and rememorize, or not rememorize, memorize. Salakia. Um, the next rule was add a I at the end for a feminine. So you might have something that says Shawa Marha, and that dictate, or Shawa Mar'a, which would dictate that feminine pronunciation or the feminine objective. And then, of course, adding Yam would be the plural. You would still do it if it's masculine. Put the Y in the middle. If it was feminine for Han, Salakia. If it was a woman, Han Shawamar. Um, and then progress from there. So I believe it's going to be the same thing for the past tense. So we're going to go into the past tense next, and let's see if it works out the same. Rules might be the same. A couple rules might be different. The conjugations might be the same, or they might be a little different. I think the blueprint or how you lay it out, meaning it's all going to be structured the same. So um, at the end for a future tenth, it might not say wath, it might say something else. But you will have to add something at the end, no different than how we add ing at the end of watching, or if we wanted to indicate something was done in the past, we'll add an ed at the end of it. Sometimes in the future tense, we might add actual a couple words to dictate or indicate that something is going on, meaning I'm about to, like, or I'm about to go to the store, you know. And to say that, it might just be something simple at the end that you might add to it. But I'm gonna go ahead and erase this, and we'll start from the top. Of course, with the outfit, then getting some vocabulary words, and then we'll jump right into the next tense. and I believe it will be the past tense. I think that's what we'll be going over. And again, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. It's hard hearing myself in the background. Everything like, man, that's what I sound like. Nah, that's what I be thinking sometimes. As a side note, all you brothers is out there eating groceries and not in class. Like, come on now, y'all got to take this truth serious. You got to take this truth serious. All right, so we're gonna of course start with the ancient. You know what? Actually, let's rock out in the. Oh, man, you want to write the? Oh, I just forgot about it. I got a helper, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna write the ancient, and I'm gonna let my helper go ahead and write the Assyrian because she got such good handwriting. Oh wow, the script is just immaculate. So we're gonna start off. I'm gonna try to write it big so people can see. Cause sometimes I believe Miss Dorothy be saying she can't see my handwriting or she can't see it be too small. I got you, Miss Dorothy. If you in the chat. All right. So I'll just write them all out. Ain't no point in doing them half. All right. So what we have on the board is the alphabet in the quote unquote ancient or the paleo. And then what we're going to put underneath will be our same alphabet, but in the Assyrian script. Right now, without writing the words out, let's see if everybody can go ahead and say what the alphabet is. And everybody turns around and looks at their cheat sheet. Oh, oh. All right. Dead. All right, so look. Ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ha, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, ta, za, qua, ra, sha, and tha. So, after like a couple months of doing this, I can now say the alphabet without looking. Yay! See how that progresses? And I'm pretty sure you can do it too quicker than me. So, next, we're going to see if there's any volunteers in the room. And let's see if they can come up and write the Assyrian script on the board. Come on. See, this is a prime example of just getting used to a particular script. It- um, just write it how you know it. So, what was just transpiring what she's used to seeing is a script that's written that's on the board by Officer LeBon, and then we have a script that's on a page that we have our alphabets on, and that handwriting is a little different. And if we open up an app, a Bible app or something like that, that script may be a little different. So that's why I always say be sure or be comfortable in the script that you're writing and reading, because at one point you might know the alphabet, and if somebody writes the za a little different than you've always read or understood the za, you might not understand what they're saying. You might think it's a different letter altogether. So just be familiar with it, get comfortable with it. And of course, that takes time, practice, repetition, diligence. I remember in the world, people would be diligent in rolling their blunts. They were like, man, I'm about to pearl a blunt. You just couldn't just slop one together. They be like, I ain't going to smoke. They'd be diligent. They'd get scissors out and everything to roll their blunt. Back in the day, we had penmanship classes in school. Now these kids don't even know how to write cursive. They don't have Salakia, babe. And just to go over a few other the basic rules. Remember, in our culture, we read and write from right to left, not left to right. That's when we're actually writing in the script. But don't try to do that if you're translating it and you're writing it in the English script. It doesn't have to be written that way. So if you're writing the I or the ba and the da out, you don't have to write that backwards. That goes the same way. Of course, you should. Yeah, it makes sense because those are English letters. Simple as that. You got this. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Yep. And then right after you're done, write the five or write out the five that have a dual way of it being wrote out. So like the ka, if it's written at the end of you already on it, huh? Okay, Most High in Christ. So there's five letters in the alphabet: the ka, the ma, the na, the pa, and the taza. That when you see them or they're written at the end of a word, they're written different than any other position in that word. That's something that kind of threw me off a little bit because I would come across words and I'm trying to read it in the Hebrew and I'm like, what is that? I never seen that before. But I was just so used to the basic, not practicing on all of them, that it kind of she gonna make it happen. Yeah, make it happen. Yep. It kind of looks like that backwards C, the ka, and then the other one just looks like the N one. Yep, there you go. Get that sister a hand. That was a wonderful job. So these are the five that if you're seen or they're at the end of a word, they will be written out like this. So you got to understand that looking at this one and this one, I believe this is, the Ra and the Ka at the end, you have to know that, man, those are, even though they look the same, they're two different words. But that just gets used to the familiarity of knowing the language, reading it, and writing it. So let's get the vocabulary in. Handwriting is very good. Proud of you. All right, so it looks like the vocabulary I wanted to go over, we'll just swap that out for another day. Cause it looks like I misplaced it. Might have to go off of this one. Slacky about that. All right, so the vocabulary that we're going off of today are, or is, now don't get me on my grammar. I don't know if this language is a grammar class. But we're going to be in the S, the letter S, dealing with S words. We're going to try to get about 10 on the board. I'm going to do 5 and 5, one on the left, one on the 5 on the left, 5 on the right. That should give enough room for everybody to see. Smite, sun, soul, south, and speak. So in the Hebrew, it's hakah. Sun is ban. So when we say our registry, every Sabbath service, when a brother gets up, he has to state his name in his registry. I would say Katab Ban Yahweh Ban Yasha'Allah. Yahweh the Slakia. Tripping. Meaning Katab, son of Judah, son of Yasha'Allah, or Israel. Soul is Napash. South is Nagab. And speak or word is Debar. All right, so yeah, I definitely wasn't gonna be able to get 10 on the board that size. Might be able to squeeze one or two more. I'm gonna give you a second to get those down, and then we'll go over about 5, 6 more. Again, you can always pause the video, screenshot it. Oh, for you people that's actually in class, y'all just got to write a little bit faster. I'm just playing. All right, she said she on the last one. We're going to start from the top. All right. Moving on, we have sprout, staff, stand, star, stone, and stop. All right, so sprout is the Shah in the Hebrew. Staff is simply maqual. And the next four, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write out the words for it, and then you guys write it out in the ancient or the Assyrian script, whichever one that you prefer to work on today. So stand is Imad. So you might hear us say Imad Yum. We're not saying J. We're saying Imad Yum. And that's stand. And of course, like we went over last week, when we put the plural on it, we add the yum. And if it was, you see how that comes together. Star is Kawakab. Stone is Aban. And stop is Kadal. So I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and write out the Hebrew characters that, oh, am I standing in front of the screen? That applies to that. All right. So which pick two that you want to do? You can write them out in the ancient. I'll do Imad, and I'll let you pick your two first. What we got? What we looking at? You looking for the ma? I. Iban. You looking for the ba? And then the na. All right. So what's semi confused? We'll work this one out together on the board. And this is a good lesson. So remember when I would say that sometimes you would get a script that doesn't have these indicators at the bottom. These indicators let you know if something is connected or not, or it's pronounced separately. But if it's connected, so if I was just to write out all of the characters, I would write out I, ma, da, which will be pronounced I, ma, da. But because these two are connected and that is pronounced silently, the da loses the I, the A at the end, and those the ma and the da is connected. So it'd be simply Imad. And that goes for all of them. So if you're looking down here, Khadal, that's Ka, you have your Da and your La, Da, Ka. But these two are connected. So instead of it being pronounced as Kadala, it's Khadal. I'm getting better with the. I'm getting a little better with that. See, practice makes perfect. And that just drops the I. And that is, I guess you can say that will be the rule across the board. So anytime you have two letters that are pronounced together, you drop that last I at the end of it, at that second letter. I guess a good question that I need to find out, is there an exception at any point? There might be certain rules, but you want to do the other two? I did a mod, so I guess you can do the middle two. Star and stone. Oh, he went behind the stove to go pee. Okay, so that's a good question. Kawakab, Kawakaba. No, I okay, so I caught you up on, yeah. It's kebab, but if it wasn't like that, it would be kawakaba. But you did a great job. Get that sister a wonderful hand. All right, to go over these real quick, those last two, star and stone. So star in the Hebrew pronounces kawakab. Um, what we were just going over. If it wasn't connected, it would be kawakaba. But the last two are connected, so they're pronounced it together. Kawakab, and stone is aban, which is a, ba, and na. The ba and the na is pronounced together, so it's bun. Um, it's a portal. Matter of fact, for anybody who's watching my Lashawan Qadash class, should I do something on Twitter? Every week I can post something on Twitter for the Lashawan Qadash class. Would y'all follow me on Twitter? Would you guys be my Twitter friends? Would you tweet me from time to time? All right, so moving on, we're going to get into the tenses now, the meat of the class. So, last week we went over the present tense. This week we're going over the past tense. And then next week we'll go over the future tense. So, the word that we're going to use is lamad. That is going to be our word. Like before, we were using the word shamar, which means to watch, but lamad means to learn. To learn. So, real quick, this is the past. This is the past tense. So, past in the Hebrew is ibar. She's surprised I look back. But I definitely want to make sure I get it right. Can't be up here getting it wrong in front of y'all. Then I'll just look silly then. Like, what is he doing? That's not I. There you have it. Ibar. Past. The root word that we're going over today is lamad, which means to learn. And we can add the to in there if need, but to learn. Lamad is actually one of those words that has multiple meanings. So lamad in context would mean to learn, and also in context it means still to watch. So we have to keep those in mind. There's like in this language, there's tons of words. Like I believe lahum is bread as well as fight. Those two words are the same, but they mean two different things depending on context. So if I said give me my lahum and you owed me money, you knew we was talking about bread. Don't square up on me and try to fight me. You know, talking about oh, I thought you was talking about you wanted to scrap me. Nah, I wasn't trying to scrap you. I was just trying to get my bread from you. That's all. But that's why it's always there's a saying that goes context supersedes etymology. Sometimes people get caught up on let's go all the way back to where the word originated and the origin of the word, which is fine. It has its place. It has its understanding in doing that. But you don't want to get off and disregard certain information that pertains directly to that subject based off of what you've recently learned. Meaning, if our culture, a man or a boy can't be a virgin, why would you now apply it just because of you got the definition or you got the etymology of a word? Oh, it means to be not with a woman. Well, yeah, for the people who came up with that, yeah. For us, no. Like a virgin is somebody that comes, a woman that comes on her flower. It's a woman of marriageable age. That's what the Bible dictates or describes a virgin to be. Not a woman that never had pipe laid to her. That's not it. All right. So starting from the top, Anya, as we said before, still means I. And it's for the masculine or the feminine. So if I wanted to say, I learned, I like to put my rules in red. Kind of stands out. So you add Thaya at end of the word to dictate it was done in the past. That's how you dictate it was done in the past. So before when we were like add the Y in the middle and the high at the end, that was in the present tense. So this caveat for the past tense is the Thaya. So if I wanted to say I learned, which would be ed, I would say Anya lamad thaya. I'm gonna write the thaya in green. And this means I learned. Just that simple. So I'm trying to figure out a way so I don't have to rewrite all of this. I think I can just erase these, leave the lamad, leave the brackets, and just fill in the rest as we go through the other the tenses. So that's I. So if I wanted to say I learned, it's ayun lamad thaya. The thaya at the end dictates the pretty much the ed, gives it the past tense understanding. I believe is the U tense. So U in Hebrew is a tha. masculine. So, how would we say, how would we put you learned past tense in a sentence? Or just say you learned, which is a sentence in Hebrew. Now, based off of how we structured the last couple, how we did the last couple, how we write what you see here pretty much out in a sentence. You want to give it a want to give it a try? Got it right. I'm gonna look at her paper and see if she got it right. Mm-hmm. What she just asked, isn't it just the same thing? And coincidentally enough, it is. It's just that easy. So if we know a thigh is you, we just drop the a thigh. Drop that down. You. Lamad is what we're talking about, the subject or the action learned. And then Thaya is the rule to add the tense of the past to it. Simple as that. And this means what? You learned. Sorry about that, D. It looks a little rough, like a backwards B, but y'all get it. Give you 2 seconds, 1 second to copy that down. Good job. Now, with that being said, I know the next one got to be easy. So, I did forget about the feminine. I was about to jump right past the feminine. So, let's put you back on the board, but we're going to put up the feminine. So, with the feminine, there's a clause. So, the thaya is the rule for when it's masculine or it's both. If it's masculine and feminine, for like the I for the first one, that was masculine and feminine. So you would use the thaya. If it's just the feminine, you add a ha at the end of the word. So it would be lamad ha, and of course it would be a tha. And the sentence is still you learned, but it's the feminine. So a tha lamad ha versus a tha lamad thaya. All good. Does anybody remember last week what we said we was? pass the next one up. Nope, still jumping the gun. The next one up is he. So, how do we say he in Hebrew? He in Hebrew, of course, this is going to be the masculine. We're talking about he. The Hebrew for it is ha wa'ah. Ha wa'ah. So like this is a sense to where if this wasn't if this was connected, it would just be hawa, but it's ha wa'ah because it's not connected, as we were covering before. And I was just beating a dead horse, babe. That's all. So the same lamad. So Thaya is back in play here. Thaya is the tense. And then we just drop down the hawa'ah, and now we have your sentence. Hawa'ah lama thaya. Hawa'ah lama thaya, which is the masculine tense of he learned something. Or he learned, rather. He learned. And of course, if we do he, that means we have to do she, which will be the feminine tense. I mean, the feminine. Feminine, she. And she in Hebrew is ha-ya'ah. Ha-ya'ah. The difference is just one W and one is a Y. Ha-ya'ah, ha-wa'ah. The word is still the same, lamad, which means to learn. And we're going to go back to the feminine tense usage of it. So we add the caveat rule, use rule number 2. So if I add 1, 2. So it's going to be lamad ha. And of course, drop the hawa'ah down. And it's haya'ah lamad ha. Haya'ah lamad ha, which means she learned. She learned. Sorry, my penmanship is getting worse. I ain't even been drinking night. All right, I believe the next one is we. Yep. You remember how we say we in Hebrew? We in Hebrew is that long anak nawah. Anak nawah. So it's AHNACHNAWA. Anak nawah. That means we. And that's for the masculine and the feminine. The rule you add a nawah at the end of the word. Um, the only thing I would have a one question on when it comes to this one is because I noticed on the last one that we did when we got to that one, I felt like it was the same. So when we did the present tense of anak nawah, I feel like at the end we still use nawah for the present tense. But that's a question I'll ask that needs my own. That's for my own understanding. Um, you guys might just grasp it already, but writing it out, it would be anak nawah, lamad, nawah, which means we learned. So anak nawah, lamad nawah, we learned. How is that different from the past tense and the present tense? That's a question I'm gonna find out. Even if you didn't have that question, matter of fact, let me look back in my notes. Look back in my notes, which all you should be taking notes. Oh, see, okay. All right, in the present tense, that was something I known. I don't. I don't even know why I asked that question out loud. All right, don't judge me for that. All right, so the present tense, it was yum. We know that. That's what it was. It was still the anak nawah, but they added the yum at the end for the present tense and not the nawah. So past tense you would have the nawah at the end. Present tense it would be a yum. So if I said anak nawah lamad yum, that means presently I'm learning something or we are learning something. But in the past tense, it would be anak nawah lamad nawah. Blah blah. Kind of sound like I knew what I was talking about a little bit. All right, I believe we got what two more. We got the their feminine, and the their masculine. Oh no, we got the you plural. It's like Israel. One moment. All right. All right, man, it was gonna be. All right, we right back at it. Salakia for that, Israel. It's the water for the wait. When I say when somebody tells you the water, say ayundabar afterwards. Ayundabar. That means You're welcome. Or as we say it, no sweat. Shout out to Darnell Buck. He going through it right now. Yeah, I put you on blast in my class. Like, look him up on Facebook. Give him a heart, a like. That'll build his spirit up. And then like, share, and subscribe to my class, the Detroit Lashawan Qadash class. You know it. All right, so we going over to you, masculine plural. And we know that it's a thumb. Lamad is still our root word, which means to learn. So what we do, we have a new rule. That's number 4. Add thumb, THAM, at the end. So it's a thumb. Salakia. So it's a thumb, lamad thumb, which means or gives us the sense of y'all. So if I wanted to say y'all learned something today, learned, y'all learned y'all alphabets today, y'all learned y'all. That's what I'm saying. So if I said a thumb, lamad thumb, that's y'all learned. Of course, we're dealing with the past tense, so that past tense in the English is identified as the ed, but we're identifying it as thumb. A thumb, lamad thumb. All right, to the next one, which I believe is the feminine plural, and it's going to be you still. Does anybody know what the feminine would be? It will be a son. So um, I really don't feel like rewriting it. So it's really just adding the N, the na. But what we will do is we'll go over the theirs for the you. And I'm going to put both of them up on the board to save a little bit of time. You have, I do it like that, Ham and Han, which is they. And you have your masculine and feminine. Of course, Lamad equals to learn. Do I have it at? Oh no, we got a fifth rule. I'm gonna put it at the bottom. And all right, so with this one, you add a Y at the end of the board, at the end of the word. So, of course, there you have it. So it'll be Ham or Han. Lamad, of course, is the root word, which is to learn, and then your rule for the tense is actually Ha, and that is rule number 5. That you add a Ha. Oh, Salakia, baby, gotta get me right on those. Now, I'm saying Ha, that's clearly a Y. You add a Y at the end of the word, not Ha, Salakia. If you guys wrote down Ha, that's my fault. It's supposed to be Y. So in these past tense, we have 5 rules. Rule number 1, add thaya at the end of the word. Rule 2, add ha at the end of the word. Rule 3 is nawa at the end of the word, and the nawa was for the we. Rule 4, thumb at the end of the word. And rule 5 is wa at the end of the word. And those applies to the tenses that they were going. So like if I was using, well, coincidentally all of these happen at the end of the word, so it works out. So like the other one when we were doing the present tense, you had one that you put the Y in the middle or after the first, but between the first and the second letter. But for the past tense, it looks like you don't have to worry about an extra rule like that. All of these just go at the end of the word to dictate the past tense. All right. Do we have any questions in the room? Let's see if we got any questions in the chat. No questions in the chat. So next week, so we went over present tense. We went over past tense this week. So next week we'll go over the future tense. We'll go over some more vocabulary. Of course, we'll do a little bit. We'll go over the alphabet. And what we didn't do this week that we should have did this week, but we'll definitely do next week, we'll get into just some basic reading and writing. Meaning, you should be able to read something and say it out loud too. So even if it's just a couple words, a couple sentences, when we're going over our vocabulary, I might get a small scripture to break down to where we'll just get it on the board so we can write it out in the Assyrian and in the ancient, and then we'll say it like we used to go over with the prayers. We'll say it, we'll get familiar with it so we won't get tongue twisted and tongue tied when we come across it later on in the future. All right, with that being said, men of Israel, imagine. Yahba Shem Yahweh Barakatah. Thumb, make it a plural. Baraka thumb. All right. So, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. I got you, sis. No problem. Yahweh Shamar, Alathaba Hashem Yahweh Shah. All right, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and conclude the class. See you next week, Israel. Shalom.